I said, welcome to the nut show. She said, I'm a ass bitch, I'm the butthole. Would you try and touch it? Where you going? I got hoes in New Jersey. Bitch, come on, don't touch me. This a New Jersey. I don't know who deserve me. Yeah. Nobody deserves shit. They just get it. Can I get it too? Yeah. I've been waiting for it to all hit, but it never do. Yeah, it never do. Taste the pain and lie on down and waste away. You're like a bottle by the side of the road. Come on, baby, 20 hours till I'm crazy. Sorry, buddy, boy, that's just how it goes. It's just so you know. Spend my day staring out at the water. Let it fade, running back for another. Bitch, I'm big nut. I just went to England, got my dick sucked with my bitch, smoking cocks out the whip. On the wrong side, driving down the street. Think I hit a couple people, but I still got my dick sucked. She used to eat my ass, but I got Crohn's now. R.I.P. to Whirlpool, I had to slow it down. Wait, can I feel myself? My girl pussy's so good, I wanna kill myself. I'm not worried. If it's gonna happen, then it will, so I'm not trying to hurry. Every day I make my bed and I don't even do shit. I don't leave the house, everyone's so fucking perfect. What's my purpose? Can I find it out? No, that's what it seemed like. Sometimes my life feel like a dream, I like it when it don't. I've been talking reckless, whether I'm not trying to rock the boat. On my girl necklace, that shit almost made a choke. Please don't talk to me, love it when I'm left alone. Everybody wanna be a friend, they all pretending though. Lonely God sent me a beat, I swear it made me horny. Someone said my music suck, I looked him up, he's 40. Man, don't you gotta go and use some just for men? I don't owe you shit, I'm not the fucking government. I've been down a minute, but I think I got that feeling back. When they give you shit to deal with, can you deal it back? You can put the exclamations on my name, it still feel like something missing, even if it's all the same.
Entertainment that keeps you guessing streams free on Freevee.
This is a ticking time bomb.
First, Ben Affleck is the prime suspect in Gone Girl.
Did you kill your wife?
I never touched her.
Then, it takes a cunning sleuth to navigate this killer family in Knives Out.
You know something.
I suspect foul play.
And Harry Bosch is back with new cases and a new job.
You're not a cop anymore, Bosch. This is just the beginning.
Bosch Legacy, Gone Girl, and Knives Out stream free now on Freevee.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Do I have sound? Do I have good sound? Do I have chat window? I'm still getting the hang of what I need to mute and what I don't need to mute. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. All right. Happy Tutorial Thursday, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well today. Hope if you had a decent Thursday morning thus far. We are going to do a really fun, thanks Sharon, we're going to do a really fun, really super simple project today that is one of my favorites. This is infinity twist earrings. So I love these because they look really complicated and they are so incredibly not complicated. You could absolutely take beads and hang them from the bottom. You can make these earrings as long or as short as you want. So if I were going to say hang an earring, or not hang an earring, hang a bead from the bottom of that loop there, I might, instead of doing 4 passes, I might only do 3. I might only do 2, to make myself kind of a shorter component so that I could then hang a nice long bead from it. So it's really up to you how you want to use this technique. It's super versatile. You do just need to remember that if you're going to make them longer than the ones that I'm making in the tutorial today, and the total length of those from the top of the ear wire to the bottom of the earring is about 2.5 inches. That's including the jump ring and everything. So if you want to make something longer than this, you are going to need to use a little bit more wire than what I am recommending to you today. So I used 3 pieces of wire for this particular earring. You could absolutely use more or fewer depending on how chunky you want these and how adventurous you're feeling. If you're really finding 3 wires difficult to work with, try 2. If you're totally good with 3 wires and you're like, I want a challenge, try 4 or try 5. Again, lots of cool things you can do with this technique, very versatile. So let's talk tools and supplies. This is actually a pretty light one on both of those things, except for the fact that Allison once again forgot her tools, so I will be running away to get those in just a minute. But as far as supplies go, you're going to need some 20 gauge wire, and I'm using 20 gauge bronze, except for the fact that this isn't 20 gauge, this is 22 gauge, which I also need to go get. Wow, I'm super prepared today in the way that I'm not super prepared today. So let's just take a real quick pause. I'm going to go get tools and 22 gauge wire, and I'll be right back. Alright, so let's start that up again with the proper everything. Tools and supplies. 22 gauge wire. Now you could do this out of 20 gauge wire, but because of the nature of the sculpting of this 22 gauge, it's a little bit thinner. It's going to be a little easier to work with, especially if you're new to this technique. So 22 gauge bronze wire, and I'm going to need about 6 inches of it per piece. So each earring has 3 pieces. So that means I basically need 18 inches per earring, so 3 feet total. Of that 22 gauge wire, you're going to need a pair of ear wires, and I'm just using my regular French hook ear wires. These are my favorites because they're simple, they don't detract from the design. And you are going to need a pair of jump rings, and they're going to need to be bigger. Okay, so these are 6mm jump rings. The reason you need a slightly larger jump ring is because we're going to go ahead and wire wrap all 3 of those wires at the top, and you need a jump ring that's big enough to go around that grouping of 3 wires. See how that's a little bit on the wide side. And that is it as far as tools, as far as supplies go. As far as tools go, you're going to need your basic wire working tools. So that means you're going to need a round nose pliers, you're going to need a wire cutter, and you're going to need a chain nose pliers. And then you're also going to need a hemostat. So a hemostat is a medical tool, but the beading world has co-opted them a bit because they're super useful for a ton of things. This is one of those squirrely wire projects that Heather was talking about last night on the chat, where you really are going to get a lot of benefit out of a nylon coated hemostat because it's squishy, so it can do actually a little bit better job of holding your wires together without marring them. So I'm going to start by cutting all of my wires. So that means I'm going to cut 6 pieces of wire, each of which is 6 inches long, and once again that totals out to 36 inches or 3 feet of wire, and again that's 22 gauge bronze that I am using for this project. So I've got 1, 2, 3, so that's 1 earring, and then 3 more for my second earring. So 1, 2, and 1 more makes 3. Okay, so I've got, again, 6 pieces of wire, each of which is 6 inches long. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure and mark the middle of each of my wires. So I'm going to mark that at about the 3-inch point. And I also want to make sure that all my wires are straight. So sometimes you get wires that are like this, they're kind of crooked, and that's not going to be helpful when you're weaving. So go ahead and take your chain nose pliers on any of those pieces of wire that are looking a little bit funky, and just use your fingers to sort of run them down your wire. And what's going to happen is the pressure and the friction of your fingers are going to help you pull all those kinks out of your wire so that you have a nice straight piece of wire. So I'm just going to make sure that all my pieces of wire are straight. Now, if you have a wire straightener, you can absolutely use that as well. I tend to go with my fingers, but do whatever's most comfortable for you. Alright, 4 almost done. 5, and last one makes 6. Okay, so now I'm going to measure and mark the center of all 6 of these pieces of wire. I'm just going to do that with a Sharpie because Sharpie comes off of metal fairly easily with rubbing alcohol, or sometimes you can even just rub it off with your fingers. So it's a good way to mark your wire that you're going to be 100% guaranteed that you can get it off of your wire at the end of your project. So how's everybody's Thursday going? Anything exciting happening for any of you today? Hopefully we'll have a good busy day here at the Beading Dreams. It's been a little slow the past couple of days. So hopefully everyone will decide to come in and get beads so that they can stay indoors during the 100-degree week that we have upcoming next week. Okay, so now I've measured and marked all of those wires at their center point. Now I'm going to grab 3 of them. Doesn't really matter which 3 because technically they should all be the same size. And line up your center markings. So you may have to rotate your wires around a little bit to find your center marking. There we go. 1, 2, 3. All lined up. If they're not perfectly lined up, well, that was not good. If they're not perfectly lined up, it's okay. You just want them to be approximately in the same place. And then you're going to take your hemostat, and for anybody who hasn't used a hemostat before, the locking mechanism is actually on the handle. So you're just going to open that up, and the way you open it up is you just sort of push those 2 handles away from each other, and that disengages the teeth. And you're going to put your hemostat right on top of your center markings, and then you're going to clasp it as far closed as it'll go. So I've got mine all the way closed. I've got all of those teeth locked in place. And what you should have at this particular moment is you should have your 3 wires, and they should be held together and they should be flat. Okay, if they're overlapping or bundled together, you know, like a cord of firewood, that's not what we want in this situation. Okay, we want them to be flat. Once you've determined that yes, they are flat and they are held firmly in your hemostat, you're just going to take one side and you're going to curve it up. Now notice when I'm curving it up, I'm trying to keep my wires flat. Okay, so they're going to want to They're going to want to overlap, and I'm trying not to let that happen. Like so, and then I'm going to take the other side and do the same thing. And actually, so what I did on this side was I kind of pushed it from really close to the hemostat, and you see that didn't give me my ideal because they're kind of out of alignment now. So if that happens to you, grabbing with your chain nose pliers and just giving it a little bit of a wiggle will usually help to get your wires back in line. But on this one, I'm going to try a slightly different technique. I'm going to grab a little farther away, and I'm actually going to pull outwards. So I'm actually pulling in this direction as I bend. And that doesn't actually work any better. So I'm just going to take my chain nose, grab that, wiggle it, and there you go. So what you should have now is you should have a nice teardrop shape with your wires at the bottom and one set of 3 crossing over the second set of 3. Now I'm going to move my hemostat to where it's holding 6 wires. Okay, so I'm going to put it at the first junction. Again, make sure all of your wires stay in alignment and clamp that baby closed nice and tight. Once again, I've got all 3 of the teeth engaged there, and then I'm going to do the same thing. So this one that's in the front here, I want to curve round the back, and I want this one now to come in the front. So I'm going to take that, just bring it around like so, and then take this group of 3 and bring it around in the front. Now that's an oopsie right there. So what I can do to fix that is, so the reason that happened is that one's just hanging out a little far in my hemostat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen my hemostat up a little bit and put that guy back in line with everything else. Hold it and then just rebend it around the outside, and hopefully we'll get, there we go, we get a slightly nicer curve. And then once again, I can always adjust with my chain nose and just give that a little bit of a wiggle. Okay, so now I'm going to take my hemostat and I'm going to move it up to this juncture. So that's my first and second passes, and I think I'm going to make this one 3, so I'm going to do 1 more. So once again, the one that's in front is going to go behind, the one that's behind is going to go in front. So you're going to grab that and bring it around, doing your best to keep all those in line, and then you're going to bring that one and you're going to bring it around. And once again, you can use your chain nose pliers to adjust. The best way to adjust is to grab them and just kind of wiggle them, and that will usually convince them that they want to be flat. Okay, so there we go. So that's a 3 pass of my infinity hoop. Now before I finish that one, I'm going to go ahead and just do the other one so that we don't forget what we just did. So I'm going to line up, or approximately line up, my centers that I'm going to call close enough. Take my hemostat, and I'm going to try grabbing a little bit closer to the tip of my hemostat, because what I have on this one is I do have, as you probably noticed, it's not perfectly teardrop shaped, it's a little squared off, and that is from the hemostat. The problem, of course, is just like any tool, as you get closer to the tip of the tool, it doesn't have as much holding power. So we're going to see how this works out for me. So I'm going to take one side and I'm going to bend it up and over, and then I'm going to take the other side. Haha, see, not holding quite as much as I would like. I'm going down just a little bit. Take the other side, bend that. Ah, okay. Bad choices. Then the other side, up and over. Okay, this is definitely going to require some fixing. So again, grab with your pliers and wiggle. And then if this is going to be a pair of earrings, ideally we want these to be similarly sized, which means that this currently is too large. So what I need to do is I just need to pull that down a bit. to make it more similar in size to this one that I already did. So that's my first pass. I'm going to disengage my hemostat. And I'm going to grab at this juncture, and I want to try and make sure that I'm holding all of the wires both straight and close together. And just put that across, engage your hemostat. Now I'm going to do my next twist. So again, this one that's in front goes behind, the one that's in front, the one that's behind goes in front. So just bring that around and bring that around. And you can make these twists as loose or as tight as you like. Apparently I'm feeling kind of the tighter twists today than when I was doing my sample earrings, but really it's totally up to you. It's just a matter of how tight you pull that when you're doing your twist. Now I'm going to do my third pass, which is going to be starting at that juncture. Again, really clamp down with your hemostats, and then again, the one that's in front goes behind, the one that's behind comes in front. So bring that one around, like so. Bring this one around like so, and once again, use your pliers to adjust that so that everything is flat. Otherwise, you're not really going to be able to see your twist. So now I have two relatively similar looking earrings. They're not identical, but that's okay. One's going to be on either side of your head. So as long as you don't point out that they're not identical, you'll probably be fine. Now it's time for me to finish off my earrings. So what I'm going to do is start with one of these two groupings of wires. It doesn't really matter which one. I tend to do the one that's crossing in front, but I honestly really don't think that it matters at all. I'm going to take those 3 wires, and it's not a bad idea at this point to keep your hemostat right at that juncture, because it's possible to kind of mess up everything that you've done as you're doing the finishing. So I'm going to take that group of wires and I'm just going to bring them around like so. So I'm just anchoring them around that other group of 3 wires, which I'm going to go ahead and stand up straight. And at this point I can trim off the remains of those 3 wires, and then my little pokey stabby bits, I'm just going to take my chain nose and I'm going to press those down, and you may have to do that one at a time. If you get more than one at a time, good job you. Now I'm going to do the ever popular basic wire wrap loop. As all of you know, my favorite technique and one of the most useful things you can possibly know. I'm going to start with my round nose pliers. I'm going to grab at the top of my twist, so that's right above where I just anchored off that group of 3 wires. And I'm going to place my round nose pliers as close to that group of 3 wires as I possibly can, so as close to that binding off point as I can get. Now I'm going to use my fingers to bend my wire away from me over my pliers to make a 90-degree angle. I'm going to loosen my pliers, rotate them up just 1/8 of a turn, and grab. So now you can see I'm grabbing right on that corner. I'm going to pull my wire back up over the top towards me and down. So now I'm making my loop. Now this is going to be different than the way that I usually teach the basic wire wrap loop, in that I'm not going to have you pick up your chain nose pliers. I'm going to have you keep your round nose pliers in there, because that's going to help keep those 3 wires flat. And then we're going to take this wire, this group of 3 wires, and we're just going to wrap around and down. And you don't need to go a ton of times, 1.5 times, 2 times, whatever you've got wire for is good. And then once again that, we're going to trim and press down like so. And so that's our completed infinity twist for earring number 1. Now we're going to do the same thing on earring number 2. And if you want to be that was a bad idea, and we're not going to do it. So grab your hemostats and clip at that juncture at the top, and then take your grouping of 3 wires that's in front and bring it around, just so that it's kind of whipping around those other 3 wires, and then you can trim it off. And then use your chain nose pliers to press that, all those pokey stabby ends right there. You can see them. Alright, go ahead and press them down, and like I said, you're probably going to have to do it one at a time, but if you get more than one at once, bonus. And this is something we've discussed before when doing basic wire wrap loops. Tucking from the back, meaning your point of your pliers is going in the same direction as your loops, is not usually the best way to do this. The best way to do it, and it gets a little awkward with the hemostat in there, but the best way to do it is to turn it around, actually come from the front angle, so that you're catching each of those wires and pressing them down. Like, see how much easier that worked than what I was trying to do a second ago? Though I did still have to do them one at a time, but I've got all 3 of them. Now I can disengage my hemostat. I'm going to do another basic wire wrap loop. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers, place them right at the top of that way, rotate, back up over the top, rotate underneath. That should give me my lady with a scarf. I'm going to keep my round nose pliers in there, and I'm just going to wrap those wires down 1.5 or 2 times to secure them, like so. And then I'm going to trim off those extra ends, and once again I've got pokey stabbies. We're going to trim those, and well, we did just trim those, and we're going to press those down. And once again, coming from the front to tuck them down is so much better than coming from behind. Alright, so those are my 2 infinity twists. Now the last thing I need to do is make them into earrings. This is very simple, it just involves our jump rings and our ear wires. So I'm going to take my jump ring. This is a 6mm 20 gauge jump ring. The opening is right there. Easiest way to open a jump ring is to take 2 pliers, grab one on either side of the opening, and twist your jump ring open. What that does is it allows you to create an opening in your jump ring without destroying the circle of your jump ring. I'm going to drop my earring component onto that jump ring like so, and then I'm also going to grab my ear wire and I'm going to drop that onto my jump ring component. Now chances are your earring has a pretty side and a less pretty side where all your ends are, so remember the way that you put on the ear wire, this flatter part of the ear wire is the front. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my chain nose again, and I'm just going to close that up. Make sure when you're doing this, you close it to the point where you can feel the 2 edges scraping against each other and there's no space there. So Megan wants to know, could we have added beads to the wires that make a loop? And we absolutely could have. The only potential difficulty is not necessarily breaking the beads, but the beads might get in the way of where you have to put the hemostats in order to create the shape. Now what you could totally do though, if you wanted to add beads like on top of this after the fact, is you could take like a 26 gauge wire, you could anchor it on down here, and then you could just essentially kind of weave up and down, adding your beads as you go. Okay, last earring, last jump ring. There we go. And I'm going to twist it open. Drop my component on there. Drop my ear wire on there, again being mindful of which part is the front. Apparently I'm going to fling my ear wire. Like so, and then I'm going to close it up. Alright, and there you go, that's it. That's our lunchtime stream project, our infinity twist earrings. A fun one, an easy one, doesn't take a ton of materials, doesn't take a ton of time, and looks really cool. So thanks so much for hanging out with us on the Beading Dreams lunchtime tutorial stream today, this tutorial Thursday, and hanging out with me to do this project, infinity twist earrings. Hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday wherever you are today, and don't forget tonight is Torch Thursday on the Beading Dreams stream. That means I'm going to, thanks Lori, I'm going to be doing this. This is going to be a sawn and soldered hair fork. So it's a hair decoration, but a little bit more involved than some of the ones we've done in the past. We're actually going to be sawing out shapes. We're going to be soldering settings on and then attaching everything to a nice 12 gauge bronze hair fork, and I will show you how to buff out the ends and everything so that it doesn't actually yank your hairs out of your head. So everyone have a great Thursday afternoon, and don't forget we will be back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream, with that Torch Thursday class at 6 p.m. Central Time. Yes, just about 5 hours from now. If we're not going to see you for the tutorial tonight, don't forget we have Zoom tomorrow. It means we will not be on Facebook, we will not be on Twitch, we will be on Zoom with Crafty Cocktail Time. That's free crafting time where you can make whatever you want, and Heather and I, of course, will be here on the Zoom as well to help you with anything that you might need help with. If you need opinions, we've got a great group of people who are more than happy to offer opinions on anything and everything. So Crafty Cocktail Time is always really fun. If you've never Zoomed with us before, you can email us beadingdreamsdallas@gmail.com, and we're happy to get you those Zoom credentials. So that's it for the noontime stream. Everyone have a great Thursday, and we'll see y'all back on this channel. Twitch.tv. You are very opinionated, but that's not a bad thing. Like, I mean, there's nothing worse than asking for an opinion and people just being like wishy-washy and waffling. Like, oh, well, you know, whatever you want, I don't really know. Like, no, if I ask for an opinion, I would like to hear opinions. I don't always take the opinions and apply them, but, you know, it's always good to have people who aren't afraid to say what they actually think about something. So, on that note, I'm out. Time to open the store. We'll see y'all back on this channel, twitch.tv/Beading Dream, tonight at 6 for Torch Thursday. Bye, everyone.
Make a stack, Pepe laugh. Got all of these bitches, man, she suck me in. I do not give a dance, I feel like Twitch staff. Clip that, ay, this bitch finna give me whiplash. Took my fucking breath away, I'm finna take that shit back. Bitch, you capping and you big mad. I'm just fucking trapping, getting cat girls in some big bands. Pull up constant havoc, jacks but dicey, how I whip that. Make more than your dad, but I know you wouldn't get that. Messed up, got me looking like no face. Make it rain, leave it wet like a snowflake. On top, give me space, she like no way. That's a red flag, bitch, Olay. Messed up, got me looking like no face. Make it rain, leave it wet like a snowflake. On top, give me space, she like no way. That's a red flag, bitch, Olay. Fine last night's ass. ass cat ears and she a woo. Fuck around, do shadow puppets back at the Subaru. I got jet black nails and a better bitch than you do. Only want me cause I'm sad, bitch, I ain't afraid to lose you. She always got her collar on, she always fucking calling me. What she call me before, don't call me that, I'm not a weep. She like the way I look at her, she like that I am hard to please. I cannot fucking help it, bro, these cat girls always fall for me. They all try to fix me, fucking switch up like a blade on me. Got a handcuff, put chains on me, bitch, I don't give a fuck, do not try to change me.
I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check. I'ma make a million, came back from Cancun. Cop the cool, cantaloupe, diamonds, blued off the roof. I'ma cop the cool, lemon diamond, look like lions doing layups on the moon. I'm a Concord, grape, jelly roll, Eddie Jones. I can finger roll 5 feet from free throw. If you're talking about another man, you need to get your bands up. Two Victoria's Secret miles, about to pull my pants up. I spent a cool 40 piece, galleria. I'm in Massachusetts, Montclair jacket, eating burrito. Two Puerto Rican divas, drinking margarita. Which one of y'all I was calling senorita? Long as you know that I'm Alabama rap. Right wrist look like rainbow bright, doing jumping jacks. Bought a 50 pack, Sachi sleeping cap. Marmalade, matte mint on the Maybach. Real. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check.
East Coast, West Coast, distributing packs. Exotic gas, got my clientele coming back. Boysenberry got my trap doing jumping jacks. Trap, I know the nigga who invented that. I'ma make a meal in my Montclair jacket. I'm trapping, I'm rapping, motivated for cabbage. I'ma make a meal cause the money I be stacking. No lacking, I'm packing, you test me, I'm blasting.
Hold up, wait, camera time. H2O come through and switch the vibe. Floating in the booth, yeah, they pay me just for a line. Clear jacket is bubbled up. My new bitch got a bubble butt. Styrofoam cups, they doubled up. Come test me if you dumb enough. Come correct. Diamonds on my neck. Cost more than your whole paycheck. I don't need a paddock. My timing is flawless, yes. We ain't talking money. It ain't shit to talk about. Red bottoms, I'ma walk it out. Bitch, I got a fucking bounce on.
I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check.
She gon' eat the dick till I finish. I don't even take her ass to dinner. Michael Mirrors with a Montclair denim. Tell trap I need 100 cent 'em. Cuz wanna stack just to bend 'em. I don't even think twice I send 'em. I'ma make a meal off this trap shit. Alone make a meal off this rap shit.
Watch how I run up these racks. You gon' hit them, tell them run this back. LV on my hat, said with these double G's, holding up my strap. Said we making plays in the zone and I never drop a sack. Only thing we drop it when we hit the malls is about a couple racks. Nigga tell them run it back.
Just imagine, butt naked in my Montclair jacket. All black ratchet, Glock 45 taking nigga in the ashes. Two twin dicks disappear like magic. You my show, not wear my back in. Got good gas, you know I'm tapping. Stir Miyagi, know I'm waxing.
I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. I'ma make a million in my Montclair check. Montclair check, Montclair check.
Envy with that drip, ho.
Hey Lex, where you at, bro? I'm on a block that you can't even hang on the time that you're hitting the lane switch. Don't rise up, all on the face, time to go with the pace and you can't, bitch. I cannot sleep to the gang, bitch. Running around with the same stick. Talk about one of my brothers, I'm up in that fire, we aim quick. Bake this, bitch, I'm going ape shit. Try to gon' top me up, cause I've been feeling anxious. That little boy, he talk a lot, so bullets in his braces. If I aim, no, it's gonna be hitting, ain't no grace. Bitch,
yo, I'm back. I see mama just look at my sack.
Ayy, smoking on that when we pack. Ayy, I'm finna run it like track. Ayy, I'm gonna punch it like back. Ayy, I ain't run like a snack. Ayy, she be running my horn, yeah. And she be pumping like.
Hey Isaac, why?
What, Pack God?
Why the fuck were you born? I'm smoking a pack. I told her they gotta get back. I'm running them down to the track. I'm told them they crack. Now what they head's gonna smash. Shot a color in my stack. And said it can't be doing crack. It really be whack. I'm making silver and I'm smoking like gas. Yo, my nickname say Tory, cause I'm hitting that bitch with the back.
Eating that beast, that pasta, I'm rolling that funny, be still in my clothes. The cheddar been twirling, rolling, and looking like human is down the one.
Yo, motherfucking trap. Now you tried to like you in the face. I'm like, we really doing this? It's me and Larry and Willie. Why you trying to touch me, boy? I know we ain't new to this. Yo, morality, cause of fatalities. I'm on a killer spree. You ain't gonna ruin it. They call me Pack when I'm in the VC and nobody speaking. Neither I'm airing it. I got a 50 round drum and I'm sharing it. I got your red on my body, I'm wearing it. We got the game that is what we declaring it. Buy you a casket and lands preparing it. I'm in the bed, sit you as a vegetable. Fuck up my face when you dripping, it's radical. I keep the defense on me like a sentinel. On Mars, they like they Mr. Incredible Beast. I'm feeling fucking incredible, bitch. I'm obviously this a medical quick. They just ain't never was ready with it. Soft Willie, why you been like a dick? Soft Willie, why you been like a bitch? Soft Willie, why you been like a bitch?
give me a second.
It's Obama and I'm fucking snapping on the strap. So Soft Willie's mother to bring that ass back. Hey, young kid.
Yo, what's up?